another episode of my 4-Foot Friday, where today we'll be talking about my Summer League surprise standouts, to my top 5 players that really surprised me this Summer League, in fact, Las Vegas Summer League. So we first start out going to New Orleans, where we see Chuck Diallo performing for the Pelicans. He was the Pelicans' best player this Summer League, averaging 18.6 points per game. He also averaged 9.8 rebounds per game and 1.6 blocks per game. And really, Chuck Diallo did everything for the Pelicans, even leading them to beat the Hawks, who have a fantastic player in Collins. And he scored 21 that game, shooting 7 for 9 and 7 for 8 in free throw percentage, proving that he can do everything. He also had a block, but another statistic he had was 8 rebounds. So as you can see with this game, and there's many other games too to prove this point, he's a very good player for the Pelicans and was definitely the standout. They gave him the ball, and they'd see what could happen in the play when Chuck Diallo had the ball. Run a pick and roll with Chuck Diallo, and then have someone shoot the three, or a lot of their game plan was having Chuck Diallo attack the basket, and either he'd get a dunk, a layup, an and one, or just a foul. And you can see, he's very consistent with his free throw shooting, very good for our big man, shooting 7 for 8 from free throw percentage. So as you can see by those numbers, Chuck Diallo is definitely a player. Excuse me. As you can see, Chuck Diallo is definitely someone who surprised me this Summer League. Moving on to number 4, we have Wayne Selden Jr. Wayne Selden Jr. actually led the Grizzlies to the semifinals, where they did lose to the Trailblazers, they lost to the Trailblazers, and you can see that every game he was scoring just about 22 points per game. That was his average, and he had 2 great games. 33 points against the Suns, which is unbelievable. Anytime a player scores 30-plus points in the Summer League is crazy, considering how many players have to really rotate around in the rotation during Summer League basketball. And he scored 24 against the Heat, which actually went to double overtime, and they actually took that game 98-95. So the 24 against the Heat really helped the team, and you can really see how Wayne Selden Jr., leading that Grizzlies team to the semifinals, and he was the main reason why the Grizzlies got so far this tournament, as they didn't really have that high of a draft pick, but they can prove they can do things in the Summer League without top-tier players. And we see that with other teams too, including the Trailblazers. They didn't really have that top pick. We also see, we could even argue the Los Angeles Lakers. Yes, they got Lonzo Ball with the 2nd overall pick. However, in the final game, they didn't even start Lonzo, but they didn't even play Lonzo Ball. And so we'll talk about the Lakers later in this. But for now, we're going to move on to Caleb Swanigan, the center for the Portland Trailblazers. So Swanigan actually led this Blazers team to the finals, and as I said with Wayne Selden Jr. and the Grizzlies, the Trailblazers didn't really have that top 10 or even lottery major pick that everyone's like, whoa, they can do something with this pick. And in the 8 games that Caleb Swanigan played, he averaged 16.1 points per game and 10.6 rebounds per game. He played every game in the Summer League, and with his consistency, day after day, because Summer League games you don't get that much of a rest, but game after game he continued to perform. And that's why he averaged the 16.1 points per game and also just about 10.5 or 10.6 rebounds per game. So you can see that Caleb Swanigan got it done, and we could even go into deeper statistics looking at his games. And in the finals, he actually had 25 points and 12 rebounds. He was the leading scorer for the Trailblazers in that game. And you can see that he also, to add on to that, he has 7 assists. So you can see he's kind of like a Marc Gasol type player, where yes, he can score, yes, he can do everything, including rebounding too, but he also has that assist game, that passing game, like a point guard ability at a center position. So I really do think Caleb Swanigan stood out to me as my number 3 best player. Moving on to number 2, we have Bryn Forbes, and this was so hard between him and the number 1 player. I was going back and forth. Who should I give the number 1 spot? Because Bryn Forbes had a major case for the number 1 spot in my Summer League standouts. He had the most points for a player playing 3+ games. He did play 5 games and scored 26 points per game, which is unbelievable. And game after game, no one could stop Bryn Forbes. He was put into the game, you could double team him. But even against the Pelicans, their game plan going into the game is if we shut down the Spurs, it means that we shut down Bryn Forbes. It means that Bryn Forbes has a quiet night, maybe limit him under to 10 points. However, it really didn't happen in any of those games where you have that set game plan and the player, almost like a Kobe Bryant, you can put 3 people on him, but he can still hit that crazy shot. And that's kind of how Bryn Forbes acted this tournament. And he led the Spurs really far in the tournament with his 26 points per game. It's unbelievable what he did in the 5 games he played in Las Vegas. So the number 1 player is actually Kyle Kuzma. Now, Kyle Kuzma was, in fact, the Summer League Finals MVP, winning that award against the Trailblazers. And many people thought that, with Lonzo Ball out in the finals, Kyle Kuzma might drop in numbers, might not perform. However, people are and even I can fall for that too, saying that, if Lonzo Ball doesn't perform in this Summer League Finals, Kyle Kuzma will have an off game. Because we seen when Lonzo Ball played, he made everyone better, He threw alley-oops, he threw full-court passes to Kyle Kuzma. But Kyle Kuzma, even without Lonzo Ball, stepped up his game, acted as a great stretch four. He shot over 50% from the field, 21.9 points per game in 7 games. And in that final game, he ended up scoring 30 points, which is just about 8 points over his total average for the Summer League. And you can also add the 6.4 rebounds per game, 1.4 blocks per game, so it shows he's such a all-around player. And he reminds me so much of Kristaps Porzingis, Kevin Love type player, where they can stretch the floor very well. Even Channing Frye, you can stretch the floor, you pass it back out, and as soon as she shoots it, it's going in. And so 30 points in the final game, shooting over 50% the whole Summer League. He's a very consistent player, and that is, in fact, why he won Summer League MVP. So anyways, that's going to be it for this episode of 4-Foot Nuttin' 4-Foot Friday. So I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good day.